What's up? It is the Sports Live on a Wednesday. Fast week so far here in the first full week of February as the Super Bowl approaches. Talking Titans with a great show set for today with some topics about the process of hiring the coaching staff between new head coach Brian Callahan and Titans GM, now vice president, executive vice president, Ran Carthon, about who they're hiring, how they're doing it, what they were doing in Nashville while Sam and other A to Z members were down there in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. So the Titans brass was still in Nashville hiring coaches for this first coaching staff for Callahan, and how Ran Carthon is cross-checking Brian Callahan. And I think this is interesting. Cross-checking Brian Callahan's one red flag to this point. So we'll discuss what that is, get your opinion on that in the chat on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And also we'll talk about what's the most crucial hire that Brian Callahan has left to make on his initial staff before we get to Wednesday sports trivia. Sam, Jack, and I, we got it. We succeeded. We needed our double dip on the celebrity mashup because we had two guys and we got messed up by the outside face. But we had the double dip, and we got the double dip correct. Thanks to the chat on that last week while you were in Mobile. But welcome in. Let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, hey, let's do it here. Like you said, been a fast week, kind of been the first week of true offseason, it feels like. Like the Titans have just found a way to make every single week thus far loaded and packed with things to talk about. And this is kind of our first week of hitting that offseason grind. So we are chugging along, but if you're with us today on a Wednesday morning, make sure you share the show before we get into everything. So if you're on Facebook, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. If you're on YouTube, take the YouTube link, text it to a friend, text it to a group chat. Find that Titans fan or NFL fan in your life, or just somebody who you want to introduce to the A to Z Sports family, and send them that link. Share the show. It's the best way to grow the A to Z Sports community and support us each and every morning before we kick things off here on a Wednesday morning.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live weekday mornings at 8-ish Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline, and then also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the mid-state in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro, online at krebskubota.com. So, Sam, before we dive into this coaching update and this conversation about the staff, you did release your first of I don't know how many full Titans mock drafts on Monday. And so we will have some mock draft Mondays roll out here over this offseason. So I tease, promote where people can find your first Titans full mock draft that's up there on the website, A2Zsports.com.
Yeah, well, that's where it is, A2Zsports.com. There's some graphics out there on the social media as well. But if you want to dive into mock draft season, that is where we are at right now, Austin, as well. It is a full mock draft season for football fans, thinking about the possibilities of where their team might go. I went 7 rounds. I picked for the Titans. I tried to address all of their needs with players who I believe are going to be on the board at those picks. And I feel like I did a pretty good job. So there is a mock draft on A to Z Sports with a Titan-specific picks and my reasoning for all of those picks. I see a lot of mock drafts come out now that are boring, and they just have this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Now, I explain my thought process. I tell you why I'm going where I'm going with each one of my choices. So go check out the mock draft.
Yes, and your mock draft was very Senior Bowl flavored, a little bit. It wasn't at the top, but you had a lot of the later round picks of guys that you got to watch at the Senior Bowl. So I think the good thing about you going to the Senior Bowl with some A to Z staff members is truly seeing what these players look like and hearing the chatter around, whether it's draft media or NFL scouts and departments that are going to be making these selections, and agents and other connections that are being made down there. So I think that's something that Sam has a foundation base of knowledge from the Senior Bowl that we'll just build on as this mock draft season continues. A lot of people saying that they hate mock draft season. It's an exercise. It's an exercise to see how things are changing and developing throughout the months of February, March, and draft month of April, because you've got the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl complete. That's kind of step one. The Combine's coming up here in a few weeks in Indianapolis, pro days throughout the month of March, and then lying season, which is the month of April leading up to draft week, which is one of my most favorite times of the year. But Sam, you were at the Senior Bowl. Ran Carthon and Brian Callahan were not. They sent down Chad Brinker and Anthony Robinson, who are a part of this front office brass, to do that work at the Senior Bowl. And here was Ran Carthon talking about why they didn't go to the Senior Bowl and how he and Brian Callahan were able to set up this coaching staff. And this is from the OTP with Dave McGinnis, Mike Keith, and Ramon Foster talking with Titans executive VP and GM Ran Carthon.
It's been really cool for us to, spend that time together. He and I here in the building, and as we get these coaches in and talk to them, we've had a ton of Zoom interviews. We've had a few in persons that are still going. It's been cool for us to kind of play off of each other, and learn how to feed off of each other throughout the interview process. Neither one of us have ever interviewed coaches from that magnitude that's going to play an important part for us before. So us being able to sit down, formulate a script, and then just see how we fit in off of each other, and just being fluid and not being robots, and just reading questions off of a sheet of paper, and just, being able to, learn different segues and how to, get a coach to go into a more detail or, things like that. And then just connecting on a personal level. We just, in this interview here, we have so many similarities that it's kind of creepy. That we didn't know about. And then just even in this recent interview we just had with a coach, we both learned that both of our dads are originally from Chicago and from the same side of town. And it's, like I said, we have a lot of similarities. It's pretty creepy, if I could say. But, again, a like-minded person, and that the communication is really strong.
So the communication really strong there from Ran. I mean, look, you got to be in a car with James Foster of A to Z Sports Film Room for like 13 hours during the Senior Bowl week, going to Mobile and back to Nashville. You guys get to build a different connection that you had previously. Ran Carthon and Brian Callahan, they are thrust into this role where they have to collaborate on building this football team to get back to where Amy Adams Strunk wants it to be. Having this in-person experience is invaluable in going through all these reps to build on that relationship and find out that Ran and Callahan and you all have parents from Chicago.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is overall I don't get any Titans fans that were upset at the idea that Ran and Brian Callahan were not down at the Senior Bowl. There is tape that's going to be available at the Senior Bowl for NFL executives and coaches to watch. A big reason why some of football executives go down there is just to size somebody up and see what their physique is like in person. And that's something that Chad Brinker and Anthony Robinson and Titans scouts are perfectly capable of doing and conducting some initial meetings. But the priority for Ran Carthon and for Brian Callahan needs to be, one, developing their relationship, and two, building a coaching staff that is going to help develop these players, whoever it is, that they end up selecting in this year's draft. And so I think it is time well spent for the two of them to prioritize their staff. And if they're getting closer along the way, if they want to talk about their parents being from Chicago along the way, that's a big positive in my book. So I'm all for this. And now it's just a matter of making sure you get the staff right. But I do think part of the reason Titans fans have been, I would say, overall pretty high on their staff so far is the effort that, Callahan and Ran have made of making that the priority right now.
Yeah, so Caleb says, I thought it was dumb that they were not at the Senior Bowl, but neither person has ever hired a staff. I get it now. And then I do see this coming through here. Malachi asked, didn't they at least send scouts? Oh, yeah. I mean, they sent scouts, but they also sent
the president of football operations. They sent an assistant general manager and Anthony Robinson. They sent a bunch of scouts. There were people with Titans gear on walking around at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and so look, and as Rand continued in the OTP episode that's 46 minutes long, I believe it came out yesterday. I'm about halfway through it, but this was one topic that I wanted to discuss today. But they talked about how you can see everything. Like Sam and James and everybody from A to Z that went down there has the same film cut-ups of that Ran Carthon, Chad Brinker, Anthony Robinson, and now Brian Callahan have of every player sorted through every rep, every drill that they can watch and really get down to the nitty-gritty. And then they were able to put the staff together. And we'll talk more about the player profiles that they're building throughout this offseason as we approach free agency and approach the draft to see if we can pinpoint to make this mock draft season more accurate to know, okay, this is what they want in a wide receiver. This is what they want in an offensive lineman. Here are the players that could go in these rounds to fit what they want. But there has been one red flag, I think, that Brian Callahan has. One thing that Callahan has done to this point that I think most of Titans media and Titans fans are kind of like, I don't know about that. So we'll get to that here in a second. But first, Sam, tell everybody about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute is the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, because whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and you don't want to fumble on your recovery. So go to the Bone and Joint Institute. They're located out in Franklin with a state-of-the-art rehab facility that's right off the highway to assist with everything you need. And it's all under one roof when it comes to the Bone and Joint Institute. No driving all over Middle Tennessee to get to different appointments, point A to point B. You just have one-stop shop, clinic, rehab, image, surgery, testing. It's all there. It's a great facility. They've got great doctors and great care for whatever you need. Whenever you get hurt in life, go to them. Schedule an appointment online at boneandjointtn.org.
And with BetMGM, we're getting ready. The big game's approaching. And if you want to win instantly with BetMGM for the first time, sign up with our code ATOZ200. Not the one on the screen for this promotion, but ATOZ200 for the big game. All you have to do after signing up with the BetMGM app with code ATOZ200 is place a $5 moneyline wager on the big game. Doesn't matter what happens, who wins, who loses. If your bet wins or loses, you instantly get $158 in bonus bets after placing that $5 moneyline wager. Again, only when you sign up with BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, with this code ATOZ200. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligible requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued not withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game with sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So Sam, Brian Callahan has made several coaching hires. Denard Wilson, DC, Nick Holes, OC. Those have been made official by the team. Bill Callahan, the O-line coach, his father. Tyke Tolbert, the wide receiver coach. Frank Bush, the linebackers coach. And Steven Jackson, the cornerback coach. So I think I am fair to say this, painting a broad brush, that the biggest red flag of Brian Callahan's 3-week-old Titans career as a head coach is his hiring of Nick Holes as the offensive coordinator. Because as I said last week, Sam, and I'll let you kind of go into this a little bit, I don't think there's a head coach out there outside of Brian Callahan who would hire Nick Holes as an offensive coordinator. That's not what he was doing. He was a pass game coordinator for the Jags with Doug Peterson, who was the head coach and the play caller, who also had an offensive coordinator. So Nick Holes was like 3 steps removed from calling plays as a pass game coordinator. He's been an offensive coordinator for 1 year in the college game at UNLV and had a 70-something ranked offense, and they had a jump in offense this past season when Holes went to the Jags, and Trevor Lawrence didn't have as good of a year in 2023 that he did the previous year. Not all that's Nick Holes' fault. You don't blame the pass game coordinator for the quarterback's failures. But I think this is the biggest red flag of Brian Callahan, because Nick Holes, as we all know now, was Brian Callahan's high school football teammate. And he got his first coaching job at Nebraska under Bill Callahan several years ago, 15 plus, nearly 20 years ago. So, Sam, how do you feel about the Nick Holes hire in general? And then we'll go back to the OTP and hear from Ran Carthon about this topic too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst hire of the offseason for the Titans. I don't get this one. He's never been a position coach in the NFL. Like, I saw a comment that said, oh, he's got a track record all on his own, but like, where? He's been a pass game coordinator for the Jags, and as you mentioned, like, a step backwards for the Jaguars. I'm not like necessarily blown away by the fact that he was with the Jaguars for 1 year as a pass game coordinator in a year that their passing game was worse. The offensive coordinator for UNLV in a year that they were a below average college offense among all Division I teams, and then spent 10 years with the Raiders as an assistant wide receivers coach to an offensive quality control coach. And he bounced back and forth between the roles, never even getting promoted to a position coach. He got his first job at Nebraska because of Bill Callahan. He's a family friend. He is a high school teammate of Brian. He's not an offensive coordinator. The reason you can feel okay about it if you're a Titans fan, I guess, is just the fact that Brian Callahan is essentially your offensive coordinator and a head coach in one. I think what Brian Callahan's looking to do is to have an offensive coordinator that he just has a strong relationship with on his staff for collaboration and just chemistry, which is something he had with Zach Taylor in Cincinnati that he might be trying to replicate. But yeah, this was a big, I don't like this hire. I agree with you 100%. I don't think there's a coach in the league outside of Brian Callahan that hires Nick Holes as an offensive coordinator. I'm quite frankly, I don't know if he's a position coach on a lot of teams around the league, because he's been in the league for over a decade and he hasn't been able to find that job so far. So this is a buddy hire, and I think that's at least a red flag or a yellow flag for Titans fans right now.
Yeah, and I think to give credit to Nick Holes, because I don't want to completely dump on a guy that I've never really heard of or met or know much about, other than what's been talked about and reported and written, is that the guy lasted with the Raiders for several coaching changes, for a couple general manager changes, a move of the franchise from Oakland to Las Vegas, and he remained on the staff by a bunch of different people. So there's some value that he has for what that experience is like over a 10-year period with one organization going through a bunch of change.
Sure. Well, I think Nick Holes can be a valuable staff member, but he's your offensive coordinator. Like there's a difference between being a member of the organization. If they add him as a pass game coordinator, as a pass game analyst, there's something where he's, an assistant to Brian Callahan and he's in the organization and he's helping out. He can be Brian Callahan's version of Mike Vrabel's stretch. And I'm cool with that. And I'm into that. Like that'd be something that I'd sign up for, because I do think he can bring value to the organization. But this isn't just stretch. This is an offensive coordinator. And,
sure,
you're talking about valuing a quarterback's development, right? And when we were talking about potentially the hiring of Brian Callahan, we were talking about, well, what could be the combo between Brian Callahan and an offensive coordinator that maximizes Will Levis? And we had all these ideas, and I'm dreaming up a scenario where Liam Cohen is potentially the quarterback's coach because Will Levis is potentially the offensive coordinator because Will Levis has worked with him before, and he's worked with Charles London, his quarterback's coach. Well, Charles London is gone. Brian Callahan knows QBs, but he's a head coach that has more responsibilities to deal with than just focusing in on one player. and your offensive coordinator is somebody who's never really worked with quarterbacks before and is just a friend of the head coach, that's worrisome for me.
Yeah, it is a red flag. So again, let's go back to the OTP, the official Titans podcast, with their interview with Ran Carthon. Again, this was Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio. Rhett Bryan asking Ran Carthon about the interviewing process with Carthon and Callahan, going through their several interviews and how Ran Carthon was kind of there to cross-check some of these Brian Callahan candidates.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, the football part, and Coach Matt could attest to this, the football part, the X's and O's part, pretty much takes care of itself, right? You know who the good coaches are, you know where the good schemes are, but like I've always said, we care about the people. Everybody talks culture, but culture is the people. And so we want to make sure we're getting the right people, and then you go through and you're interviewing people and you realize his connections, you realize my connections, and our ability to, get people on the phone that can help us figure out the people, right? You can turn on the tape and see what the X's and O's are. There's only so many different football drills you can do to get you ready. But that's been our driving force, is to make sure that we're getting the right people. And I thought it was really cool of him, even the coaches that he has history with, and not just saying, hey, I'm going to flat out hire this guy. It's no, I want to get this guy in front of you so you can feel him and also cover his blind spots. If it's someone he's worked with for so long, like, hey, did I miss anything? Am I missing anything? And again, I'm not in there asking questions, hey, can you talk me through this protection and how would you adjust? I'm more so listening, seeing, and I'm looking at him, understanding what he wants and how they're going to be able to fit in with him, not only schematically, but how they're going to be able to support him throughout the building.
So, Sam, I think this brings up an interesting question that we're going to ask. So, Ran Carthon saying he's checking Brian Callahan's blind spots on some of these candidates that Callahan knows well. I think that's something right there. So, let's go ahead and dive into this question that we've prepared for everybody here. And that is, does Ran Carthon cross-checking Brian Callahan's buddy hire make you feel better or the same about Nick Holes? So better or the same about Nick Holes, knowing that Carthon's role was to make sure that this didn't just feel like a buddy hire that Brian Callahan wanted to push through. So better or the same about the OC hiring of Nick Holes under Brian Callahan. But first, let me tell you guys about our buddies over at Krebs Kubota. This is something I believe in fully, because Krebs Kubota is a family-owned and operated company that has survived and thrived for 18 plus years, started with one location in Columbia and grew to 3 with adding Murfreesboro and Franklin across the mid-state along the way. That only happens because you're really good at what you do, right? So Krebs Kubota has been able to grow over 18 years because they have the best customer service in the industry when it comes to any of the equipment you need, whether it's a mower, a trimmer, the bigger stuff, the power units with implementations, because you got projects and things to do around your property, at home or with your business, commercial, residential, they got it. You need to buy it, you need to rent it, they got you there too. They're also an elite Kubota dealer, which means they have the best equipment in the industry and the best warranties to go along with that equipment as well. It's so important to have a relationship with your equipment provider because things happen. It's a lot of stuff that can go wrong, and you need to make sure that you know who you can lean on in those times. And that's where Krebs Kubota comes in to help you out at KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win with the big game coming up this weekend, make sure you are getting with the sportsbook and getting with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM. Use that bonus code, place that first wager, and whatever that amount is, even if you lose, it goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet. That's a second chance to win big, and the best way to do sports betting with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, so Sam, I'm going to send you to the chat. We asked the question, does Ran Carthon cross-checking Brian Callahan's buddy hire make you feel better or the same about the Nick Holes offensive coordinator hire that the Titans have made? So I'll let you go to Facebook, to YouTube. By the way, we need more likes on the show, please. We see a ton of comments, but we need way more likes because We don't have enough right now. So, Sam, better or the same? What are people saying there?
We got better from Josh. We got better from Rashid. Same from Preston, Steven, Guy. Brandon says better. Major Key says better. So does Darius. Eric. Eric twice comes in with that. The same. Patrick says the same, like there's no difference. The same from Ronnie. The same from Jerry. Same from Curtis. Same from Preston. Tighten Up Tony says better because it means Carthon agrees with him. Ed says the same. Deshaun says the same. Slightly better, says Titans Kyle. Mr. Jones says worse. J. Rome says better. We needed that with Braves. Derek says better. MB says the same. Justin says the same. Rashid says better. Amar says the same. Clayton says better. Billy Jones says better with consistency. Malachi says the same. Ashley says the same. Tommy says the same. Let's see. We've got a lot of better comments, which turned into butter comments. I don't know. Seems like the chat's pretty split here, Austin, with half the people feeling better, half the people feeling the same. Where are you at on this question?
Well, I do want to give this super chat because Kane comes in here and says, has the A to Z opinion been wrong before on player or coach? You don't know. Time will tell. If he sucks, get rid of him. Simple. And so, Kane, I want to say this. There is no A to Z opinion. There is no overarching A to Z sports opinion. There is an Austin opinion, a Sam opinion, a Zach opinion, a Jack, a Buck, a whoever opinion, right? There's not an A to Z opinion. I do not tell Sam what way to think. There's a reason why all of you wanted Sam on here the week that Vrabel got fired, because Sam was doing everything to carry the jugs of water for Vrabel as I was like, hallelujah, bring in some offense, right? So there is no A to Z opinion. Have we been wrong? Abso-freaking-lutely. I was wrong about Arthur Smith. I was wrong about Derrick Henry. I was right about Derrick Henry until Derrick Henry proved me wrong. And then there's several things. Zach has been wrong about Taylor Lewan. We've been right and wrong all over the damn place. So I did want to address that from Kane's super chat there. How do I feel about this? You know, it's how do I really want to, how much do I want to buy into Ran Carthon is how I answer this question. Because am I just drinking the Kool-Aid that Ran Carthon's saying of like, yeah, I believe Ran, that Brian Callahan is telling Ran Carthon, look, I don't want to just hire this person. I want you to hear this person and then tell me what you think about it because I believe in this person. I think I feel slightly better knowing and feeling that Ran Carthon is being transparent about the process that they're doing. I don't necessarily remember hearing Mike Vrabel talk about any of this stuff. Like Mike Vrabel hired coaches and, well, that's who I thought was the best for the football team. When Tim Kelly was promoted internally after Todd Downing was fired, it was continuity. He's what's best for this team. He knows the personnel, but there was no like cross-checking on did Ran have any type of influence on that promotion to cross-check because Tim Kelly and Mike Vrabel know each other from time spent or shared in Houston. There was not, that wasn't transparent. This regime is already going to be way more transparent than the Vrabel regime. And so I think I have to say slightly better because I don't think Brian Callahan's the type of personality to push through, to thick head stubbornness move through a forced hire for a staff member. He doesn't feel like that type of person.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that about his personality, but and I'm in on Ran Carthon. I'll say, you say to you, it depends on how bought in on Ran Carthon you are. And I'm in on Ran Carthon. I've been banging the drum about Carthon's resume from the moment he was hired. So if you want to talk about the A to Z opinion, that was one of my opinions that I shared when the Titans brought him in as the general manager. But this doesn't make me feel any different because kind of how Ran talked about going through the process. Let's play it one more time, Austin, and I will talk about why this doesn't do anything for me. Let's roll the clip.
You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say like the football part, and Coach Matt could attest to this. The football part, the X's and O's part, pretty much takes care of itself, right? You know who the good coaches are, you know where the good schemes are. But like I've always said, we care about the people You know, everybody talks culture, but culture is the people. You know, and so we want to make sure we're getting the right people. You know, and then you go through and you're interviewing people and you realize his connections, you realize my connections, and our ability to, you know, get people on the phone that can help us figure out the people, right? You can turn on the tape and see what the X's and O's are. There's only so many different football drills you can do to get you ready. But that's been our driving force, is to make sure that we're getting the right people. And I thought it was really cool of him, even the coaches that he has history with, you know, and not just saying, hey, I'm going to flat out hire this guy. It's no, I want to get this guy in front of you so you can feel him and also cover his blind spots. If it's someone he's worked with for so long, like, hey, you know, did I miss anything? Am I missing anything? And again, I'm not in there asking questions. Hey, can you talk me through this protection and how would you adjust? I'm more so listening, seeing, you know, and I'm looking at him, understanding what he wants and how they're going to be able to fit in with him, not only schematically, but how they're going to be able to support him throughout the building.
So the only issue that I have with this is I just don't know if I agree with the process of prioritizing people over scheme and X's and O's and offensive mind and offensive creativity when it comes to your offensive coordinator. I understand that this is Brian Callahan's offense. I understand that he is your primary play caller. But Ran cross-checked this and gave his seal of approval on Nick Holes as the Titans OC because he supports Brian Callahan well. Basically said, I like this hire because they're buddies. I like him because they're friends and they get along, and culture. We all are a big, happy family. I just kind of want a little bit more than that out of an offensive coordinator. Like, I think there is something to be said about, hey, can we find a guy that fits in with our culture and is supportive to our head coach, who also offers unique ideas when it comes to scheme and play calling and how we practice, and can assist our quarterback and can help our passing game, or has unique experiences under a different type of offense or under great head coaches. I'm not sure that I'm change how I feel at all on Ran Carthon being like, yeah, I checked and these two get along great. Like, that's not really a newsflash to me.
I think, like, you know, when you bring up the prioritizing the people over the scheme, right? Like, I don't think they're doing that. I think the interview process.
He says that.
No,
in the video. He says, you know, you people talk. You can look at the tape for X's and O's. I'm worried about the people.
Well, that's the difference maker, because you can. Here's my translation of what that means is, I can go tell when, and look, we interviewed, I don't know how many people, A to Z Sports in the year 2023. I think we hired 24, 25 people. It's a lot of interviews, a lot of tape that we're watching. You can go look at a writer's tape, a writer's production, their output, their articles, to see if that scheme is a fit with what we want to bring in. That's the first part. Do they look like a person that produces the content that we want? Does Nick Holes look like a coordinator who runs the type of offense the Titans want? That box is checked. Okay, now you go and start the interview process to find out if they fit within the unit, if they fit on the team, and they're not just going to be a lone wolf or somebody who's going to be a disruptor, even if their process and their production is what you're wanting. So I do think it's a big deal for looking at the tape and saying that's the first box you check. They're not going to bring in some guy who wants to run the triple option just to have a different thought process. They're going to bring in the people to interview. That's the gate that you open up of, this person likes the type of offense that Brian Callahan has in mind. And now it's, how are they going to be able to work together? And because I did see this, that we both favorited some comments that I'm sure we're going to get to, because Jerome said, shots subliminally fired at Vrabes, quote, I have a history with this guy and I'm not just going to flat out hire him. It's the fact that, you know, Brian Callahan probably could have just hired Nick Holes if he wanted to. You know, I think that it's his coaching staff, right? Now, Ran Carthon is above Brian Callahan because of the new structure the Titans have laid out there. But I do feel like it is important for Brian Callahan to make sure that the people are still going to work well together. And it's not Ken Wisenhunt didn't work well. Like he was the offensive mind. He was a more modern offense than what the Titans organization had previously. So that was a step forward. But the guy was an asshole. And he was an asshole that rubbed people the wrong way, and it fell apart quickly. And they're 5-27. They fired the guy. So there is a difference in that. So that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just, Donnie says Sam feels like he's being very dramatic about this hire. I'm not understanding where this like blind faith is coming from. This blind, like, look at the resume. Sue me if I'm a little bit underwhelmed. This could work out fine. If you ever read my stuff, chat, if you guys actually read articles on my chat, you would hear my full thoughts on Nick Holes and saying that this is not the end of the world, because at the end of the day, this is Brian Callahan's offense. Whether or not the Titans succeed on offense is going to come down to Brian Callahan, not Nick Holes. That is ultimately what this will come down to. But I have a hard time, if you're a Titans fan, looking at the type of addition that the Titans just made as like a defensive coordinator and Denard Wilson, and how great of a hire that is, how highly sought after he is, the track record that he has with being either a passing game coordinator on defense or a cornerbacks coach, and looking at how well his secondaries performed and the way he maximized everybody else around him. And that is a guy that I think you have to feel great about coming in and being your defensive coordinator. But why are we just like blindly okay with like an offensive coordinator? Like, offensive coordinators do matter. Even with
I don't think.
And if you want to dispute that point, go look at the Detroit Lions and how much everybody loves Ben Johnson, and then remind yourself that Dan Campbell is an offensive coach.
Sure. So like, I don't think anybody is, or I don't think the majority of people are blindly accepting the Nick Holes hire.
No, that's what it. I'm looking at the chat. That's what we seem to be getting, is a lot of like, why is this a big deal with Callahan's offense? Nobody cares.
Within the context of this conversation, again, we are presenting the Nick Holes hiring as OC as the biggest red flag thus far under Brian Callahan. Is it not?
I agree with you 100%. And I think
within that context, the conversation on, does Ran Carthon cross-checking this red flag buddy hire make you feel better or the same about it? Everybody that you said, you read the comments, it was fairly 50-50, the better or the same. All the people that are feeling the same still feel like this is a buddy hire and it's the biggest red flag. I said slightly better. Doesn't make it, it's still the biggest red flag. Because what's the second biggest red flag of Brian Callahan? The fact that he's calling plays for the first time, or the fact that maybe he hired a D coordinator who's never been a D coordinator before too?
It's probably he's a first-time head coach who's never called plays with a defensive coordinator who's never called the defense. But look, I am overall very high on this coaching staff so far. I think the Titans have crushed this in a lot of areas. I think Bill Callahan is a grand slam. I think Denard Wilson is a home run. I think you hired some good guys with a lot of experience in Steve Jackson and Tyke Tolbert and Frank Smith, guys that are going to help your staff because you have that lack of experience we just mentioned, calling plays and whatnot. But you have guys on your defensive staff that have been a defensive coordinator before. You have an offensive line coach and a father who has been a head coach before and his experience what that is like. And the experience that Brian Callahan is surrounding himself with is a huge thumbs up and something I'm very high on. But MB wants to know, it's because no one believes that Holtz is the real offensive coordinator just in title alone. Why is that so hard to understand? It's not hard to understand. But the fact that you have an offensive coordinator that you don't believe is capable of being an offensive coordinator, you, MB, don't believe is capable of being an offensive coordinator. And it's why you're saying he's just the title. He's just Callahan's personal assistant. To me, is a missed opportunity to add a really brilliant offensive mind that might see something differently from Brian Callahan that can help improve your offense, that can help Will Levis, that can help marry the run game to the pass game, whatever it is. But you could have found an actual offensive coordinator as your offensive coordinator. That sounds like a good idea to me. So I don't think this is the end of the world for the Titans staff. I could be way wrong, and Nick Holtz could end up being awesome. That's a real possibility. They could be successful despite him not being experienced or not really having any sort of qualifications to be an offensive coordinator. But I think the fact that he doesn't have that qualification, I don't believe the Titans should hire an offensive coordinator that's just an OC and title alone and isn't actually doing anything. I think you had an opportunity to add somebody else, and I would have wanted to see them do that.
Yeah. And so I do think, and I have to understand too, that this offensive coordinator job is not the most attractive offensive coordinator job across the NFL, right? Zach and I talked about this yesterday. Here's the list of, I guess I accidentally deleted that graphic from yesterday, but the list of coaching hires, but 8 have been made and 5 of the 8 are defensive minded head coaches. So automatically there are 5 offensive coordinator jobs more attractive than the Titans one, because that's a leader of the offense, a play caller, where this one is just not that at all.
Well, I mean, I'll add something though, because like people are saying that, right? They're like, well, what great offensive mind is coming without calling plays? I think you could have found somebody with offensive coordinator experience and somebody who's worked under some of the best offenses that have actually had success in the NFL for years. Maybe like a Thomas Brown, who actually took a step down to go be, I think it's a pass game coordinator job or a quarterback's coach job, something like that he took with the Bears. He could have come in and been your offensive coordinator, and he's somebody who's worked under the Sean McVay offense and has experience calling plays and would have been somebody who I thought offered a very unique perspective to what Brian Callahan's expertise were. We've talked about that pairing potentially on the show. Well, that's a guy who didn't even get an offensive coordinator job that the Titans could have pursued to have their offensive coordinator job. And there are other guys like that out there. It's not the most attractive job where you're going to get the hottest name, but that doesn't mean that you just hire your high school wide receiver.
No, for sure. All right. So, Sam, we're going to save our next hire conversation for a different day. I think that's a much longer conversation that we can get into and spend more time than what we've got for today. But I do have a couple super chats and a couple other comments that I've saved that I want to get to here on the show. Again, like the show, please. We're going to dive more and deeper into this red flag of Brian Callahan that Ran Carthon has cross-checked, that it's about the hiring of offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, because I just saw Koharski tweeted 2 minutes ago that it's Holtz. So throw a T in there, Holtz, officially. So we'll get to that next piece of information. But first, I want to tell you guys about Farm Bureau Health Plans. If you were listening to the OTP clips that we played, you saw that their presenting sponsor is also Farm Bureau Health Plans. And so Farm Bureau Health Plans, they invest in the community, whether it's the Tennessee Titans, A to Z Sports, the Tennessee Volunteers, or the local baseball league this spring in your city and town across the state of Tennessee. You will see Farm Bureau Health Plans, because community is what it's all about, and making sure that you have the right health coverage for you and your family and your situation, regardless of that situation. A young growing family or an invested family with that next level of coverage, they've got you covered. Zach Bingham signed up with Farm Bureau Health Plans 2+ years ago, saved 20% a month, and no longer has to pay out of pocket for dental and vision. And that's the best of both worlds, saving money and also getting better coverage, because Farm Bureau Health Plans is there for them, for him, and they can be there for you. Get it started across the entire state for over 75 years at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sports books. The big game on Sunday. I think Brock Purdy's about to win himself a ring. That is my call for the game. And so I will be getting in on the action with BetMGM and placing a bet there. If you're with me, or maybe you disagree with me and you just want to rub it in my face by fading me and then beating me on a bet, and you want to back the GOAT and Patrick Mahomes, Still go to BetMGM and BetMGM.com. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports, and you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, that's a second chance to win big with the bonus code ATOZ Sports and BetMGM.com.
Choo-choo, am I right?
Yeah, we've actually done a good job somehow avoiding the trains that come by my apartment all the time on the show and the morning show. Titans at 2 gets hit with the trains quite often, or the fire alarm. Not as fortunate today.
So you just trade in some barking dogs for the train. So that's how that works in Sam's land.
At least the train lasts for like 5 seconds to 10 seconds and then goes away. The barking dogs were like a 7-hour-a-day excursion that would make me.
All right, so a couple things I wanted to get to. Some super chats that came in from Juan. He says, I think this is a good move, talking about the Nick Holtz hiring. That's going to be a thing for me to change. The Nick Holtz hiring. It's going to create consistency within the offensive staff without having interruptions year after year. And I think it was very obvious to see Brian Callahan's plan with his offensive coordinator was to recreate Zach Taylor and him in the Bengals system for 5 years. And there are absolutely benefits to that. And so Brian Callahan wants to do that. So I think Juan is correct with what the setup of this is the most optimistic view of this setup is going to be.
Yeah, no, this is the benefit of it. And John, I thought, had a funny comment. You can't lose your offensive coordinator if nobody wants to hire him. And, that could be the situation that the Titans are looking at, right? I mean, if Nick Holtz can fit into what Brian Callahan wants to do on offense and they can have offensive success, I still think there would be the perspective around the league of, well, Nick Holtz has never really called plays, and this has always been Brian Callahan's offense, and you've got a good chance at retaining that offensive coordinator year after year, and creating a lot of continuity. So that is a big upside for this. It is in a league where offensive coordinators have been, turned over every 2 years or so, like the entire league churns over an offensive coordinator. The Titans have an opportunity to potentially keep their offensive staff whole, even if they have offensive success, though, right? Like, how many offenses around the sport can be a top 10 offense and potentially retain everybody on their offensive staff? There is an opportunity here for the Titans to potentially do that, have success, and keep their OC in place.
Yeah, and I think I think you said this a few weeks ago, that in the last 3 coaching cycles, every NFL team has replaced their offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Which with either firing them, with them getting hired for a job, offensive coordinators, and this is part of the reason that offensive coaching is such a, trend right now, because keeping an OC is difficult. And so having continuity of offense is difficult. So the only scenarios in which it really happens are scenarios like Brian Callahan, where everybody kind of looks at that Bengals offense and goes, yeah, but that's Zach Taylor. I don't know how, and years go by and you realize how important Brian Callahan has been to Cincinnati, and eventually he gets his opportunity. But the Bengals were able to get 5 years with this guy on their staff. So,
yeah. Juan continues and says, it's not about the resume. It's about having a guy that thinks like you and understands the offensive philosophy you want to run, that can game plan to your specs, your specifics. So I had to translate that a bit on the fly. But yeah, so yes, Juan, I definitely understand that aspect of it. Another super chat that just came in, Kick It to the King Production, says, Holtz is there to implement the offensive game plan, no different than what Mike McDaniel, Kevin O'Connell, and Callahan did before coming head coaches elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniel, same thing.
Mike McDaniel called the defense in Baltimore.
No, McDaniel, not McDonald.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
McDaniel, yeah. There's a lot of Mike Max.
Yeah, hang on. We got to talk about that, by the way, because Mike McDonald, the mix and Mike's and Sean's. You got Sean McVay, Sean McDermott, Mike McDaniel, Mike McDonald. there was a Josh McDaniels. What are we doing?
I don't know. It's not my problem. But again, like I think, and then you got O'Connell and luckily O'Brien's back in college game. But I still think, King of the Kings Productions is correct. Like, yes, this is what the plan was. And Mike McDaniel did not call plays before getting the head job at the Dolphins either. So there is something to that there. All right. Sam, I did see a comment from Demetrius that I favorited earlier that I thought was interesting, which is why we kind of slid our next hire conversation to. Demetrius commented earlier and says, I feel like the local media is secretly rooting against Ran and this new regime to fail. You're around the local media all the time. I am not like I used to be. What do you think about this comment from Demetrius on Facebook? I feel like the local media is secretly rooting against Ran and this new regime to fail.
I mean, I would just say, like, why? I mean, Ran and the new regime succeeding is good for local media. Local media doesn't like when the Titans are bad. It's bad for us. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of confused by that. I don't know why. I think Ran is pretty well received by a lot of people. I know that myself, Teron Davenport, other members of the local media have been big fans of Ran from the moment that he was hired. That's my thoughts on that. I don't get why anybody would root for him to fail. I think he's got a pretty impressive resume. I think there are certain members of the media or whatever that in their jobs look to create content and look to create conversation and like to make, Ran out to potentially not be a great general manager because it creates great content and talking points and whatnot. But no, I think overall people want Ran to succeed because Ran succeeding means the Titans succeed, and the Titans succeeding means media succeeds. Anybody who relies on fan engagement needs interaction. Local media is pro Vrabel. I thought firing Vrabel was a big mistake. That's not a Ran issue. That's an issue with Amy Adams Strunk and an error I think that she made. Doesn't mean I'm rooting for them to fail. I also think you, Demetrius, and a lot of Titans fans out there are the problem here that created Vrabel versus Ran. Like, you have to be pro Vrabel, and that means you hate Ran, or you have to be pro Ran, and then you bash Mike Vrabel every chance that you get. That's what the fan base seems to be doing. I don't think that it needs to be one or the other. I think I can view firing Mike Vrabel as a mistake and also believe that Ran Carthon is a very good general manager who's going to succeed in the National Football League. But I don't know if you know how this industry works. If you think media wants the team to bottom out and tank just so that we can prove a point and be correct. I'd rather cover a playoff game in a Super Bowl and be sitting here right now talking about the Titans playing in a Super Bowl instead of talking about an offensive coordinator hire again.
Yeah, and here is the dumbest comment of the day. From Nate's Burner saying, seeing Ran in a Colts uniform made me hate me. Sorry, but not sorry. That is the dumbest comment I have seen maybe in 2024.
Yeah, like
that is so stupid.
I think he's kidding. So I think
I don't know, because Nate, I've been watching the chat as you've been going through. Nate's Burner saying that he is rooting for Ran to fail. Nate's Burner said that because he played for the Colts as an undrafted player looking for an opportunity. Like, that is the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah, I like Ran. Ran's great. I'm a big fan of Ran. I'm a big fan of Ran's resume. I think he's going to be very successful. I'm rooting for him to succeed. I think most Titans media would agree with that statement. And I think if you ask Titans media, would you rather Titans go 12-5 this year and have a ton of success and Ran Carthon's being nominated for Executive of the Year, or Ran Carthon bottoms out in epic fashion and Amy Adams Strunk regrets firing Mike Vrabel? We're going to take the 12-5 season that makes business work well, keeps us having jobs, and gives us some fun things to talk about and do. So I don't know. I think that's a bit of a misguided.
Well, and like people also like forget what the media's role is. The media's role is to question things. It's to be a little bit skeptical, to not just buy anything that comes out of the mouth of the Tennessee Titans, because the Tennessee Titans have people that talk about them in a positive light because they want everybody to think the most. They want to sell tickets. You know, the Tennessee Titans want everybody in the world to think that Ran Carthon stood on the table in the draft room last April and said, Will Levis is the guy. That is what that's what the Tennessee Titans want the world to think. And they're going to try to do that. And they're going to try to make it sound like, yep, Ran was behind Will Levis. And yeah, Andre Dillard was a Vrabel guy. That is what the Titans want to do. It's the media's job to go pick and choose between that and, peel it back and to find out where the truth lies in that. And I'm sure that both Ran and Vrabel signed off on quarterback Will Levis. I still believe that Dillard was a Vrabel signing because that's been talked about even before there was a discussion about Vrabel's job security. So, but those are my two examples off the top of that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the team is always going to try and paint things positively for obvious reasons. And I think, yeah, you're right. The media's job is to have checks and balances a little bit for what the organization presents. It's to be eyes and ears of fans in a lot of ways and voice of fans in some ways. And, but yeah, I mean, I've said this point on this show forever. I think any media that says they're not rooting for the Titans to win games is lying, because it's better for business when the Titans win games. That's just a fact. It's good for business too when Titans fans are angry, but when anger only lasts for so long. Yep. We all know that,
Anger turns to apathy.
Titans start 0-2 this year. Our shows are going to perform really well on A to Z Sports for about 2 weeks. Titans go to 0-4. Those shows are going to start dipping off real quick, especially when you get into the later months of the year. I'd much rather be talking about a team that's in first place and have playoff conversations. So, yeah, I mean, and yeah, so.
All right. So look, we've talked through this last topic, this last conversation for the last 8 to 10 minutes has been us versus some of the chat, right? Let's all jump on the same team and play trivia. Let's all be on the same team with our sports trivia segment here to wrap up this Wednesday show. At Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. You can go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Sam, are you ready for Wednesday sports trivia?
Let's go.
Here we go. All right. It is trivia time. Last week with Jack in as trivia director, we did get everything correct. We had the double dip on the celebrity mashup. So how this works, no Googling. The answers. I picked the first category and then I check out the chat to find the second category. So if you want a category, I've already got it. All right. Jay is the winner on that. So I will start us off with cereal.
Shaun White, Michael Vick, Stephen Curry, and Lindsey Vonn have all been featured on the cover of what cereal brand?
Is this Wheaties?
It's the only thing that makes sense. On the cover of a cereal brand, Wheaties is the only one that I know that puts like celebrities and athletes on the cover.
It feels like Wheaties is too obvious of an answer, and such a like Shaun White, Mike Vick, Steph Curry, and Lindsey Vonn. Like,
that's a very weird
collection of why that makes me think it could be something else. 2
Olympians on there with White and Vonn.
Well, 3 Olympians if you had Steph in.
Well, right, but he's not a real Olympian. He is.
Player. He's an Olympian.
He's a basketball.
He's got gold medals. Don't take gold medals away from Steph Curry. Come on.
Olympians are.
Hey, and Mike Vick could be an Olympian in 2028 with that flag football team. I think Mike Vick could still probably play that.
Olympians are athletes that play
Olympic
specific sports.
I get it. I get it. So I guess we have to go with Wheaties.
I think we have to. I mean, I've seen a couple other requests, but the chat's overwhelming Wheaties. So let's, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Wheaties.
Correct.
There we go. All right,
That felt a little
Jay.
too easy, but
Jay has NBA as the next category.
after 11 seasons in Detroit, Tayshaun Prince got traded midseason to this Western Conference team that he'd helped make the 2013 conference finals. I know this. Chad will know this. Austin, do you know this?
I think it's the Lakers.
It is not.
It's not?
This is your grit and grind Memphis
Is
Grizzlies.
it really?
Yeah. Tayshaun Prince was the Memphis Grizzly. So well, Demetrius was first on Grizzlies, and then Matt says, yeah, it's those grit and grind Grizzlies. I believe they were the 8th seed too. They were like
that was the fun Grizz with Zebo.
There was one year that they were an 8th seed and they beat the 1 seed, but that was a fun era of Grizzlies.
Zebo, Conley, Mark Gasol,
Tony
Allen, the Grindfather. That was a good group. That was a fun year. All right, so next category, let's go with television.
All right, television. Let's see it. Debuting on USA in 2007, this comedy drama follows a detective named Sean Spencer who cashes in on people believing he has supernatural abilities. This is a top 5 show of all time. I adore Psych.
Yeah, it's a great show. I had no idea what Psych was until my wife and I started watching it several years ago at this point. And Psych has become one of our, when you don't know what show you want to start next, that's, you go back and rewatch it.
I do the same thing with my fiance. It is just like if we scroll too long looking for something to put on, it's like, hey, episode of Psych. Never hurt anybody. It'll give us some laughs. It's an awesome, awesome show. And hey, shout out James Roday Rodriguez, Tennessee Titans fan.
That's right.
So,
Psych. I'll let you type that in.
Oh,
not ostrich.
Nope.
Why are you in all caps? What are you yelling?
I don't know.
All right.
I'm yelling because I'm so excited about it.
Let's go with geography.
Geography. Shawnee, Lawrence, and Olathe are 3 of the top 10 most populated cities in this U.S. state west of the Mississippi. I've got it.
There's been like 3 Sean.
And Jason, I was talking about Psych on USA.
Shawnee, Lawrence, Kansas. Shawnee, Kansas, Oklahoma. Is there a Lawrence, Oklahoma? I mean, I think it's either Kansas is the only one that I know that has Lawrence because it's the capital.
It's not the capital. Topeka is the capital.
Topeka. But Lawrence is where the University of Kansas is at.
True.
So I think we have to go with Kansas, right?
Yeah, I believe this is Kansas. Lawrence, Kansas is where the University of Kansas is. And as Nick says, I believe Shawnee is a suburb out of Kansas City. So Kansas and bang, bang.
All right. So 3 of our 4 questions have had Sean in it with Sean White.
Tayshaun Prince.
Oh, so all 4 of them have been.
Yeah, we've got a Sean. We're on Sean watch at this point.
Sean Spencer, Shawnee. Okay, let's see what does this work with Celebrity Mashup? Let's figure it out. Is there some type of Sean in Celebrity Mashup? Yes.
Yes, there is. Wait, what's going on? Did we figure something out here?
Oh man. So who is the middle?
The middle is Shawn Mendes.
Oh, then the outside Sean Connery, isn't it?
Oh, I did not think it was.
I saw Sean Connery first, and you saw Shawn Mendes. I didn't even see Shawn Mendes.
Oh, I thought the outside was Hector Elizondo.
I don't know who that is. I immediately saw Sean Connery. It's definitely Sean Connery.
All right, so
you
Sean
think
Connery,
that's Shawn Mendes?
I know
Then,
it's Shawn Mendes.
all right, well, then we go. We got double Sean's in here.
All right.
Let's see what we got.
Oh, it's
Now how you feel. This is one of my shades, is that we need to figure out how to spell Sean just as a country.
boom. Double Sean. Double Sean
Right.
is correct. All right. So
Man,
now
has this been happening? Has this been a theme the entire time?
no, there's no way. But now we cracked something because like, all right.
All right, let's go with NHL.
Known for his agitating style, this left-wing center played for the Red Wings, Kings, Rangers, and Stars from 2002 to 2012, leading the league in penalty minutes twice.
I don't think there's many Seans in hockey.
I think there's a lot of Seans in hockey. Sean is a hockey name.
Sean is not a hockey name at all.
Sean is a hockey name.
But immediately, Matt says Sean Avery.
Kyle, I like his. It's Sean or Sean for sure. It's going to be one of the two.
I mean, Matt feels very confident about Sean Avery. Is that correct? We got another Sean Avery.
I don't know.
Sean Avery. We have to go with Sean Avery.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go with Sean Avery. I don't know 2000s hockey, so boom.
Okay.
Shout out to chat. I don't have that one down.
Well, let's go with music.
All right. This Jamaican rapper and singer had 2 Billboard Hot 100 hits in the 2000s in Get Busy and Temperature. All right, I know this one.
Is it Big Sean?
No, Sean Paul.
Sean Paul. God.
Sean Paul. There are a lot of there's Big Sean.
I also thought Sean. What about Sean Kingston?
He's not a rapper. I would.
He's Jamaican
more
though.
Singer.
So Sean Paul though. This one's Sean Paul for sure.
Yeah, this is Sean Paul. Get Busy is Sean Paul.
Okay.
Boom.
All right. Movies. Let's see if our Sean's. I mean, this has to continue with the Sean stuff.
Yeah. No, we've. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost starred in this cult favorite 2004 zombie rom-com from director Edgar Wright. Zombie rom-com?
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead is a movie. And
that's it.
Let's see. We got who's on it. Let's give him some props here. We got Brad,
a lot of people.
Matt, we got Demetrius, John. Yeah, I didn't know this.
Shaun of the Dead.
Sean. I'm gonna say it's this way. Oh,
there's so many spellings.
There we go. Oh, this is the worst one of them all.
Yeah. All right. So I have a question. Before we click on NFL, let's guess what NFL Sean.
Sean Taylor.
I was thinking Sean King.
I bet you it. Yeah, I bet you it's Sean Taylor. Maybe I'm just gonna take a stab. Maybe
Sean Watson.
No, I think it's gonna be Sean Taylor, and I think it's gonna be a Pro Bowl question about the Sean Taylor Pro Bowl hit.
Okay.
I'm taking a full stab of what that's going to be.
I mean, there's Sean Alexander's that are popping in here. Sean Payton, Sean Alexander, Sean
Alexander. That's a good one.
Keyshawn Johnson. There's a lot of options here. So Sean King was my first guess. All right, let's click on NFL and see what we got.
Sean Alexander, 05 NFL MVP, led the Seahawks to the Super Bowl, but lost to what AFC team? 21-10. This is the. Should I say it? Should I wait?
We can give the chat a second.
Yeah,
to catch it. You're still guessing Sean's.
MB's got it.
Yep.
Demetrius got it. It's the Stillers, the Pittsburgh Stillers.
With Willie Parker, Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, Bettis had at least one touchdown in that game.
Was that when Randall L threw a touchdown to?
Antoine Randall L. Yeah, I believe he did throw a touchdown in that Super Bowl.
Man, I was not expecting the Sean theme there, but that was kind of fun.
Can we figure out why?
Today's February 7th? Why is today like National Sean Day?
Yeah, maybe. That's what I'm just trying to figure out is like, why did we get Sean today? Titans Kyle wants to know if he gets 40% off for getting Sean Alexander. Correct, Austin.
I mean, that's not even a question. Absolutely. Because we all get 40% off our merch at shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. So if you want gear, get it. It's that time of year for us. We're still trying to unload all of our old gear. They are the softest shirts in America. I will say that. I have heard that from not just me, but from others. The softest shirts in America are shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com. So go get those. Once we run out of those sizes, we're out of the sizes for good. So there you go. Shop.A2ZSportsNashville.com with that. Man, I don't know what the Sean thing. National Sean Day was February 1st.
So
it's not that.
I don't know. Like
maybe the guy who creates this, his name is Sean, and it's his birthday today, and he just wanted to do that.
The question maker was just in his Sean bag today. But I was actually gonna laugh at you when you were sitting there like, oh, we've got Sean's in 3 of our 4 questions. And then I kind of realized, wait, we have him in 4 of our 4 questions.
Yeah, Tayshawn.
Because this might be something now.
That was a hidden Sean.
Yeah, there was a hidden Sean there.
And wow. Danny, yes, there's a National Sean Day, and it's February 1st.
There's a National Everything Day.
Is there a National Sam Day?
Gotta be. I'm going to be mad if there's not. I'm creating it if there's not.
National Sam Day is July 13th.
Nice. Credit to me for having a day on July 13th.
My day is January 9th. Damn it. I have to wait a whole another year.
I'm going to double down. July 13th is my 2nd birthday now. I better get presents from people. I better get texts. I better get posts on Instagram stories.
Happy National Sam Day.
Yeah.
And just you with a thumbs up.
Yep.
All right.
That's exactly
that'll do it for us. If you want to figure out what national day you have, then congratulations to you. Hey, I do want to give a congrats to Buck Rising, who was named the #2 midday sports talk show in America by Barrett Sports Media today. So Buck has climbed the ranks from 9 to 4 to 2 in his 3 years with 104.5 The Zone. So shout out to our friend and our teammate, Buck Rising, and the Buck Rising show on 104.5 The Zone. Barrett Sports Media's #2 midday sports talk show in the mid-markets in the country. So shout out to Buck on that. I'm sure he won't brag about that at all. But so appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys. But make sure you hit that like button. We need more likes on the show. Always way more people watching than have hit the like button. So please hit the like button for us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Thursday. Appreciate it as always.